Hello everyone, my name is Neha SAGATHIYA. Today I am going to present about the methods of application of diathermy in electrotherapy. Methods of application. The transfer of electrical energy to patient tissue occurs either by electrostatic field or by electromagnetic field. Therefore, two methods of application are used. First is condenser method or capacitor method, and second is cable method. Capacitor method. The aim is to achieve an even electric field as far as possible throughout the superficial and deep tissue, so as far to obtain even heating in tissues. To obtain desirable therapeutic effects, the selection and placement of the electrode should be proper. The selection or placement of electrode should be based on first types of electrode, size of electrode, spacing of electrode, and positioning of electrode. Types of electrode. Here are the various types of electrodes. Electrodes could be pad electrode, plate electrode, and disc electrode. Each electrode consists of metal plate surrounded by some insulating material. One type of electrode consists of thin malleable metal plate covered with rubber pad. This has advantages to get molded according to body part. Electrodes of these types are separated from the skin by performed felt pad, and their position is maintained by the weight of body. Undue pressure of body parts should avoided, as they may crack the plate inside and may hamper the blood supply. The insulating felt pad is perforated so that it contains a small quantity of air inside, which is preferably the best spacing material. Thus, it has disadvantage of not having completely air spacing between the pad and the body. Another type of electrode consists of thick, rigid metal plate coated with thin layer of insulating material made up of rubber or plastic. The property of electric charge is that it concentrated the edges of conductor than anywhere else. Thus, these plates are frequently convex at the edges, which provided a more electric field than a flat disc. These plate electrodes are held at the distance from the skin by adjusting device. Thus, provides air as an insulating material, which is most preferable one. The third type of electrode is a disc type electrode. These are having transparent plastic cover within which a metal plate is present. These electrodes are commonly circular in shape, but special spaces can be used for irregular areas. The position of metal plate inside the disc can be adjusted. It is advisable to leave small gap between the cover and the skin to allow for a better circulation of air. Size of electrodes. If the two electrodes are different in sizes, they will behave as a capacitor. Different size plates. The different quantities of electricity are required to charge them to same potential. This puts an uneven load to the machine. The charge will concentrate on the part of larger electrode which lies opposite to the smaller electrode. If the electrodes are little larger than area treated, the outer part where the spread is greatest in the deliberately or not utilized. The part of body to be heated lies in a central part of the field, which is more even. For treatment of limbs, the electrodes should be larger than a diameter of limbs, and for a trunk and back, electrodes should be as large as possible. If the diameter of the electrode is smaller than of limbs, then the lines of force spread in the tissues, causing more heating of the superficial than deep structures. If the diameter of electrode is far larger than the diameter of limb, the same of the line of force bypass it completely, and thus result is wastage of energy. Thus, Rule: the electrode should be equal in size and slightly larger than the area to be treated. Spacing of electrodes: if the distance between the plates is small and the material between them is of high dielectric constants, the lines of force spread as they pass between the plates of a disc place of the charge condensers. When the distance between the electrode is large, then the spreading out of the electrode field is minimal, while the use of spacing material of low dielectric constants also limits the spread of the field. When the electrode spacing is narrow, the superficial tissue lies in the concentrated part of the field close to the electrode are thus heated more than the deep tissues where the density of the field is less. If the two electrodes are placed at an unequal distance from the body, the one electrode is placed nearer to the body than the other, then there is a greater heating effect under a closer electrode than under further one. These lines of force under the further electrode have greater distance in which to spread before reaching to the body than those under the nearer one. They therefore cover a greater area of skin and their density is less than under the nearer electrodes. If the distance between two electrodes is less than width of two pads, then the line of force will travel through pads only and do not produce heat in body tissues. Thus, the spacing between the electrodes and the patient body tissue should be as wide as possible. The machine allows the material between the electrodes and skin should be of low dielectric constants, air being the most preferable one. Now the positioning of electrodes. Common positioning for electrodes is first is coplanar, contraplanar, monoplanar and crossfire techniques. Coplanar positioning of electrode. This method is used over larger area of the body. Example is spine and is also called parallel method of placement. It is important that the distance between the electrodes should be more than the total width of spacing, otherwise electric field will not pass through the tissue at all and will pass directly between the electrodes. Contraplanar positioning of electrode. This method is used for those structures where through heating is required. Example, hip, shoulder, etc. The electrodes are placed over the opposite aspect of the limb or joint, medial and lateral aspect or anterior or posterior aspect. This method is particularly suitable for deeper structure of tissue. Monoplanar method. Only one electrode is placed over the treatment area and the other electrode is placed at the distant side or is not used at all. The electrode used to produce a radial electric field. The density of electric field becomes less as the distance from the electrode increases and thus the heating is superficial. Crossfire method. In this technique, half of the treatment is given within the placement of electrodes in one direction. Example, medial or lateral aspect, or another half is used with the placement of electrode in other direction like anterior and posterior aspect. This method is commonly used to treatment of knee joints, sinuses and pelvic organs. Now another method of treatment is cable method. In this method, a thick insulated cable is used for treatment purposes. Electric field or magnetic field or both are achieved by use of cable method. When the high frequency current oscillates in the cable, a varying electrostatic field is set up between its end and varying magnetic field around its center. The cable is coiled around the patient's body and is separated from the patient body by a layer of insulating material. Advantages of cable method. The cable method is useful. First advantage is for treatment of extensive area which could not be included between the condenser or capacitor methods of electrodes. Second is when the area is irregular, and the third one is when it is desirable to avoid heating of subcutaneous fat. Disadvantage is the impossibility of using air spacing. Monode electrode. The main benefit of using monode electrode is that it uses air spacing. The monode works on the principle of cable. It consists of flat helix of a thick wire mounted on rigid support. A condenser is lying parallel with the coil, making it possible to use shorter length of wire than that required for cable. Heating is produced by the eddy current. Thank you.